With a B, with a C, with a do. We back. Thank you everyone for running up the channel. We'll get into this one. This one is growing up dyslexic. So what my experience was like, or still like to this day. If you don't know what dyslexia is, it's basically how do I describe it? I don't want to call it a disability, but it seems like everyone, wants a cool sign. But no, it's basically you see the world differently. It's more like I don't know how to describe it, but it's, how would you describe it? I never really thought about it. But in the long and short of it is you're different. And there's different forms, there's different there's different forms of dyslexia. So what it is, when it comes to reading and writing and memory, reading is slightly difficult. You're a little bit slower than everybody else. So I'll give you an example. If you're reading the Harry Potter book, some people with dyslexia, when they're reading, it might take them 1 or 2 tries to understand. So they can read the words, but they can't get the mental picture in their head. So they might have to read over it more than once for them to understand what's going on, basically, because they'll see the words, but they can't comprehend it in their mind. And some people, they struggle to comprehend the words. So when they see letters, it's kind of like they have to they remember it. So how do I explain it? So if there's they're reading the word the, for them to say THE, they can't grasp the. So it's like they've had to learn how to break down the in as a picture. So when they see THE in their minds, it comes like it's kind of like a mental picture in a way, if that makes sense. A lot of it is they've had to work out techniques to read in a way that is, I don't want to say classed as normal, but that is like everybody else, if that makes sense. If you're bearing with me, I'm trying to explain it the best I can, but that's basically what it is. But there's loads of different forms. Some people, they can read perfectly fine. And other people, memory, they might go into a room to get something and then they forget what they needed to get. So they have to keep saying to themselves, I need to get this, repetition. And B's and D's, they get mixed up. So I would say academically, when it comes to like tests and stuff, they're not the best. But I've met some dyslexic guys that you wouldn't even know. Like there's different levels. There's people that just can't read, can't write. It's just such a struggle for them. But there's other people like, for example, like my dad, he's dyslexic, but he's worked out and learned what works for him when he's learning how to read. And this guy, he's always reading. He loves to read. He's always reading books. So it's all on different levels. But what I would say with dyslexia and people with dyslexia, you can still get to where you want to get to, but it might take you a little bit longer. So even if you're struggling to read now and you read that like a Horrid Henry book, and that's your level of reading, but then you want to read Laws of Power. I forgot what's it called. 10 laws, 30, 100 laws of power. Something like you want to read like a really comprehensive book. Just do little bits every day and eventually you'll get there, basically. That's all I wanted to say. So my experience, we'll get to it. When I was a kid, I always struggled, but I didn't, because when you're a kid, you don't really know. So I remember there was one time, I think this was just before, it's about 9/11 times. I don't know how old I was then. I was in like primary school. I remember like 9/11, them sort of years. Because when you're a kid, you don't really remember all the way back then, but I remember that sort of time. And I remember in one of my classes, my teacher asked us all to write out a story. And then with me, I'm so, like, I can picture everything. I've got such a good imagination. Like, I'm just, when it comes to storytelling, whatever, or just thinking stuff up on the spot, I can do that. Like, if there was a presentation or whatever, I think I mentioned this before, all I have to do is just give like different bullet points, but them bullet points are like reminders for me. Like, for example, I might say bullet point teeth, and then in my head I will already know the subject that I want to talk about, and I've got all the paragraphs, all of that in my head. I don't need to write it all down. All I need is just little bullet points, and I'll just trigger it all in my head. And I've always been like that. So I remember when it came to this writing the story, in my head I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've got this little story run out, planned out, read it all down, handed it to my teacher, and then my teacher was just like, yeah, this don't make no sense. What is this? And I used to sit there thinking, but in my head, I had it all like this, but it didn't come out this way. And then this used to happen to me a lot. Or when I'm writing, I used to get B's and D's mixed up, or forget a lot as well. Like, my mum would tell me to do something and I forgot what she told me to do. And then I remember when I was a little bit older, my dad said to me, you are different. And he said, he just explained dyslexia. Like, he said, everybody else can see the world in a square, but you see the world in a triangle. And I never really understood it, but I understood that I was different. And he explained to me I'm dyslexic and how my mum and dad are dyslexic. So a lot of times as well, it's passed down. It's not always passed down, but a lot of times it's passed down. And if you have dyslexia, you can see it in there's certain things. Sorry, I'm coughing. There's certain things you can see in like your kids and stuff like that, so you would know. So yeah, so basically once I found that out, I was like, okay. But then when I was getting a bit older, and then you move from, because when you're in primary school, when you're in like year, I can't remember what years they go up to. Like, so when I would say from year 1, 2, 3, it wasn't too bad. But when I got to year 4, then it got bad. So I remember year 4 now, we was doing algebra and stuff like that. But I remember I just couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. And bearing in mind, I moved from one school when I was in year 3, and I moved to another school in year 4. And yeah, so when I was up to year 3 in this other school, I had no problems. Everything was fine, was just playing, whatever. But then I remember when I moved to this new school in year 4, that's when it's just like, oh, you're a bit different. Like, everyone was just looking at me like, what's wrong with this kid? Why can't he understand this? Why is he struggling to do this? And yeah, they let me know. They let me know from early I was a weirdo. So yeah, I had that growing up, but I never really told anybody. So when I was going to school, and then I was kind of like the odd one out, because I couldn't do what all the other kids did, like academically. It just ate me up inside. Like, I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to do anything. So like when it came to like reading and stuff like that, I just hated it. I just buried my head in the sand. I hated public speaking when it comes to reading. Like, speaking, I could do that, but like if I had to read like a whole book in front of everybody, I just freeze up, and I hated that. I hated that. So yeah, I had to deal with that. The kids were just horrible. And then going to secondary school, it kind of was the same, but it was slightly different, because I knew how to speak. I've always known how to speak, but in secondary school, I kind of got more confident, and I knew how to speak. So I knew how to like cuss people back. So if someone chucked it at me, I used to chuck it back. And that was kind of like my saving grace. But again, when it came to academics, I was just, I just struggled. And then also you have to remember, at these sort of times from 2000 and, let's say from 2001 to 2000 and, when did I leave school? 2011, 10. there wasn't really much help going on for kids with dyslexia in that. It was more, you're dyslexic, here's a special class, you go into this special class, and then that was it. Like, there was no, I don't even know what it is like now, but I know you can research different things and you can learn different techniques now to help you with it. But back then, it was just, you were kind of left with your own devices, and the teachers didn't really help. They didn't really understand it. But I just remember the kids were just horrible. Like, that's one thing I would say, like, there's nothing that can prepare you for being a kid going to school and being, as you would say, quote unquote, different. Because them kids are awful, man. They will say some stuff that you just would look like, rah, like, they will make you think about yourself in ways you didn't even think you needed to think about yourself. They'll make you start being self-conscious. It can be horrible. It can really be horrible. But yeah, secondary school was kind of mad. College wasn't too bad because I met I never really wanted to be academic, like to do much in like college or secondary school. I never really took it seriously. I always knew I wanted to just like work, make money, and just do other things other than school. But college wasn't too bad. It was more like a playground, to be fair. Like, but I met some good people out there. I was mainly on the gym thing in college, but because I would say my secondary school and my primary school education was so disrupted, and no one really helped me. Like with my teachers when I was at school, it mucked me up for when I'm developing in secondary school and college, because the teachers didn't really understand what it was, or they didn't really have the resources to help. We were just kind of just left there, if that makes sense. So fast forward to the present day. Also bearing in mind, whilst all this is going on, obviously my dad's helping me and he's doing the best he can and whatever. But what I would definitely say now, I know how to tackle it, and I know techniques to do when I'm reading or like in a day-to-day place. So I also feel like with some people, like for me with my dyslexia, I know what it is, but I put so much pressure on myself in that moment, I can't do the answer that I need to do. So sometimes I need to just take a break and walk away and come back. For example, algebra questions I was struggling back when I was a kid, I can do now, or I understand what it was I was struggling to do back then. Sometimes it's weird, but I generally just needed to take 5, come back, and then let it digest, if that makes sense. But I definitely feel like I was putting so much pressure on myself back then, I didn't help myself either. But again, these are all techniques that like people, or if you have dyslexia, you can learn at any time. And I'll also say you're not put in one little box just because you're dyslexic. It's not like you're never going to go uni, you're never going to do, you just need to find out what works for you. Like, for example, my mum went uni and she was dyslexic. My dad went uni, he was dyslexic. Like, and I also found out my brothers and sisters are dyslexic, but they got like really mild, like really small, and it's different levels. So yeah, that's basically my experience of being dyslexic. So yeah, it's something that's never gonna go away. It's gonna be here for the rest of my life. But and a lot of people wouldn't understand it if they have it. So you know, it's not rare. It's very common. A lot of people have it, boys, girls, old people, young people. But especially nowadays, I feel like it's a lot easier for you to deal with, simply because you don't just have to struggle in silence. You've got ChatGPT, you've got computer software that just reads it all for you. You've got special pens you can go on Amazon and you write over the writing you want and it reads it for you. So there's so much stuff you can do now. But what I would say is just try stuff that's difficult to you just a little bit every day. For example, if you're struggling to read, pick up a book and just read one line every day, and then by the end of the year you'll be flying. Like, don't ever let your dyslexia holds you back from being the person you can be. So that's it. Love you all. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for rounding up my channel. Hopefully monetizing very soon. I just need to get my watch hours up, so watch my videos. And yeah, just tell me what you think. If you like it, if you don't like it. I'm getting a haircut very soon. I know I look horrible, but yeah, thank you.